dying tonight. Tomorrow, I don't know when. So let me ask some questions pointed to what's going on. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the town budget, the quarterly investment reports, the monthly revenue and expense reports. Because in my line of work, feelings are nice, but it's about leadership and delivery. So I'd like to hear more about that. As far as demographics are concerned, I've dealt with details all my life. So if we're talking about a youth committee, fine. I'd like to find out how many children are in the age group from 11 to 19. I see no facts. How many seniors are here? And then I would like to see...
Stand up. Seniors, stand up. There you go. Gladys, get up. Get up.
Then what I'd like to see is how the budget is allocated towards that. So when it's all said and done, 100 years from now, no one's going to remember tonight. But if you touch somebody's heart and soul, Page did to me. Rick Page did for me. That man I won't forget. And so I'm still not ready, because I'm still not convinced that we have right now in place what I need to go forward. So I'm still going back and forth. And I still need the facts though, and I don't see facts. Tonight, I heard, quite frankly, prearranged questions. Not used to that. And the government,
These all came from the folks here.
Just a second. But in the government, when I have to do something, I look at the data and make a decision. I still don't see a lot of decisions made on facts. So, question, town budget, quarterly investment report, and the monthly revenue and expense reports. If you can talk those three, I feel comfortable.
I would love to respond to, and you talked about prearranged questions. Do those questions come from anyone, or are they just from yourself? Are you asking those on behalf of anyone else?
I'm looking for information.
Okay. So if those are your questions, I guess I would just ask if you can clarify when you say investment reports, monthly finance reports, that kind of thing.
Well,
what is your question? You're saying I'm asking about, but you told me what you're asking.
Very specific. If you go to Monroe County, you could find out how many supervisors have submitted their budget. That's open up. That's open information. We should all know that. And right now, I believe it's the 22nd of October. And if I need to plan for my family's budget, I do it long in advance. That means it's due by the 30th of the month. That gives you, the board, X amount of days to respond accordingly and to allocate the monies appropriately. And I'm wondering about that.
Okay. All right. So let me talk about the budget process first, because you only have just a snippet of the information about that process. I know you were given that information that yes, 18 towns, their supervisors have submitted their budget. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but let's just assume it is. But you know, when you talk about planning ahead, things you're responsible for, there's a lot you're responsible for as a supervisor. As a supervisor, you're the chief fiscal officer for the town. We talked some about the fact that I have continued to function in that role without a finance director, but I want to just say, it's just one quick aside, that a finance director is not a check and balance on the town supervisor as has been put out there. The finance director answers only to the supervisor. He's hired by the supervisor, fired by the supervisor, and so the check and balance is the town board. So that's kind of off base. But as far as the responsibilities of the supervisor, the supervisor's responsibility is to present to the town clerk a tentative budget by October 30th. Not for the town board to weigh in on it. Their opportunity comes later, by October 30th. Today's October 22nd. This is just politics. There is going to be a budget filed by that point. It will be made public before Election Day. I anticipate that was a follow-up question. It's the same timing as last year when it was not an election time. And then what goes on from there, the town board has a certain amount of time to review it. They have a deadline. And again, all this is set by New York State. I have to present it to the town clerk. At a certain point during November, the town board has to present it to the community as a preliminary budget. They have to have a public hearing on it. They have to pass it by, I think it's around December 10th. So we're doing exactly what we need to do. As far as the reports that you're talking about, financial reports and all that, I'm going to get up and walk down to my folder. Getting real comfortable with this now. I'm moving around the room. I'd love to have one of these at home. Melissa, go to bed.
See a backup band over here. Can anybody play drums?
Believe me, I'm dying to get at those. I think that's why Jerry put the case around it. This is the finance report. I pulled this out because I was working on some budget numbers, anticipated some questions that haven't been asked. But I will just say, because I think this is what Mr. Greco is referring to, is charges that I haven't been providing finance reports to the town board, and that last month was the first time that I had done this. This is the one that I did last month, and below it is one I did in July. I'm trying to do this without my glasses. Here's one I did in May. Been providing these to the town board. There's been some months when we haven't done them just because we've been doing other things, but really the issue is not just the fact that it was reported that I've only done it this past month and never before, which is just not true. But the real important thing is that we're all together 4 times a month at least as town board members. Town board members call me in between the meetings or ask me during the meetings for information all the time. We do have a very advanced financial package now of software that can run all kinds of reports, and all a board member has to say is, I'd like information on this or that, and that really hasn't been the case, and you can verify that with other board members.
Just a couple things as far as the budget. It's not a real fast process by any means. Once you actually, the supervisor establishes the budget, we are all given a copy. We are given time to look at it, and then we actually meet with each and every director of every department and ask questions. And why do you need this? That's not happening. We are really the ones that say, that's not going to work this year, or explain to me why you need this, and then we need to make recommendations. So it's quite a lengthy process. It's not rushed by any means. As far as financial reports, if we ask for anything, it's provided. And I'm not just saying by the supervisor. If I want to know from the highway director, what'd you spend on salt last year, he might take a week to figure it out, but he'll get the report to us. So it's really, I'm going to say, our responsibility as board members, that if we want to see something, because we're the second set of eyes, we ask for it.
Can I say something? You said that you were talking about wanting to increase the code enforcement, which then means that part of your budget you would have to increase that part of your budget to pay for code enforcement. So should we assume that your budget that you're going to turn in on October 30th does have an increase to do what you're saying you want to do, or not? Or are we going to have to wait till next year's budget?
Are you saying it will have an increase for, are you asking if it will have an increase
Well,
for
it will have a substantial
code
increase to cover what you were implying that we would have, late night code enforcement. Or are we going to have to wait till next year's budget? Because if you haven't actually approved that, how would you actually increase it?
No, I understand the question now. The answer to your question is yes, it will have that, and the caveat is that then the town board has to approve it. Number one, they have to approve the amount of money, and then the money is put in place. That's the plan for the year. The town board also has to, and I'm not passing, I'm saying it's 5 of us, the 5 of us together have to decide, are we going to put somebody out there at night? Are we going to put someone on the weekend? And just as an example, one of the things we have to wrestle with, the person who oversees code enforcement is very reluctant to have one of his staff out there alone at night in the neighborhoods dealing with some of the stuff he feels that could be a risk for that person and a liability, and we as a town have to deal